Today is a bit of a stark exhortation about living for the world and living for eternity. And if you are like me and love reading the lives of the saints often had this eternal perspective. And some of them even talk about the fact that we're pilgrims, right? We're pilgrims on a journey to our homeland. And Jesus often in the Gospels talks about heaven as our home, our destination, the kingdom which we are yearning for and will one day be in. And in this Gospel, Jesus gives us a glimpse of that reality. We have two men and two vast differences of life. There's the rich man wearing the purple garments and living luxuriously and having his fill, literally. And then there's this poor man, Lazarus, who's, in a sense, he probably has an injury. He's crippled. He's lying at the door. He has sores on his body. He barely has enough to eat, and he's living in this poverty. And when we look at our world today, in our culture, who would our world say is the successful man? They would probably say the rich man, right? He's doing well for himself. He's living this kind of, again, I don't want to be that guy, but that prosperity gospel, right? Like everything is going well for him. And in the eyes of the world, like this is the guy to follow. This is our model, right? We look at our I don't even like going on the internet anymore that much because it's just in your face so much. The social media, the news, the TV shows, they're kind of trying to model for us what the successful person looks like. Power, money, all of that, relationships. And yet, it's such a worldly way of thinking. They're thinking for themselves and they're basically thinking that this is my home, so I'm going to do as much as I can to fill myself up, get satisfaction, and then when I die and go into this nihilism, there's nothing afterwards. At least I got what I wanted here on earth before I disappear into nothingness. Right? That's kind of the worldly way of looking at it. Is there's nothing after life, but we have that Christian narrative, and we need to hold on to the grasp of the truth of that hope. Heaven is the fulfillment of all desire. Right? Everything that we're searching for on earth, we're going to experience in that experience of the beatific vision. The beatific vision is a big word. Basically, it's the vision of us being before God and just receiving everything that we ever desired and being completely satisfied. And that's what this poor man received, right? Now, he didn't have the total fulfillment yet. He's in the bosom of Abraham. So basically, Jesus hasn't died on the cross yet, and the gates of heaven haven't been opened, but he's as close as you could get, right? And once the gates were opened of heaven when he died, this man Lazarus was in heaven with our Lord. But he's up there. He's in a sense heaven, and he's experiencing the riches of that intimacy with the Lord. And the truth is, when we die, if we've lived for the world and not for Christ, the reality is there's really no turning back. Like if you're in hell, you're in hell, and that's just the truth. But we have now to live for God, right? Like the rich man, it was too late for him, and he only realized too late. He's like, oh, just get Lazarus, the demon, just dip his finger, right? But we're all here for a reason, right? We're all here in this church because we see some value in following the Lord and value in what God has done for us and that experience of God's love in our life. And so let that be a way of giving you momentum to live for Christ. And right, so that means, worldly pleasure is not a bad thing, but it's when we make it an end in itself. Right, I'm reading the Rebuilt book. I'm sure some of you are reading it too. A lot of us, as a community, we're reading it, and maybe we're on different days. But I just started this section on tithing and money, And it's beautiful. It's saying, don't worry about money. Right? And so day 16. And maybe you get to that day soon, but we worry excessively about the things of this world. But let's not worry about the world, but actually care about what's deeper, which is our sanctification and our holiness, and following the Lord's will, and having that eternal perspective of saying, Jesus, I desire to live for you, and I choose to let you do with me as you will. And you'll notice that difference in your spirit, that the Lord's going to fill in your heart what the world can never fill. And we have that restlessness, but it's good to have that restlessness, but at the feet of Jesus, and say, Jesus, I give this to you. Give me what I need right now. And that's the beauty of the mystery of this gospel, is that Lazarus got that. Sure, he was suffering in his life, but we don't need to run away from suffering. Suffering's not a bad thing. We just need to unite it with Christ and let him turn it into something beautiful. So there we go. The Lord is good, and he wants us to remember that we have an eternal home and that we'll be there one day soon.